Bangladesh. So at this moment, this is a great privilege also to listen from Jetro Chief Yazo Ando, and he has already become a very good friend of ICMAB family as well.
Thank you very much. Chief guest, His Excellency Mr. Ito Naoki, and special guest Mr. Yuho Hayakawa-san, Chief Representative of JICA Bangladesh, and guest of honor.
If you want, you can also put up that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So Mr. Ashish A. Chaudhary, President of JBCCI, and AKM Dilwar Hussain, President of SAFA, and Mr. Abdul Bakas Siddiqui, President of ICMAB. So thank you very much for today's opportunity to make a presentation about the Japanese companies, actually the business opportunities and challenges in Bangladesh. So I would like to share the slide.
Yeah.
Could you? So, একটু আমি বাংলায় বলি। আজকে এই সুযোগ দেওয়ার জন্য অনেক ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি, বিশেষ করে বক্তব্য দেওয়ার সময় দেওয়ার জন্য। এবং আসলে করোনার পরে মনে হয় এটা প্রথম আমি আপনাদের মুখে মুখে মানে ইন পার্সনে আমরা প্রেজেন্টেশন করছি, এটা খুবই আনন্দিত। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। So I would like to present the opportunities and challenges in Bangladesh for Japanese investors. So actually, in last webinar in last January, I made a quick presentation about the Japanese companies in Bangladesh, and this graph is given in the last the webinar, and actually I quick repeat the. At this moment, we count around 300 Japanese companies, and in last one decade, the number increased around by 4 times. But actually, in terms of acting Japanese companies in Bangladesh, I think the number is less than 300. I guess around 200 is acting company in Bangladesh. And but on the other hand, we have a Japanese Business Association in Dhaka. We call JCIAD, and we have 110 member companies. These 110 companies are Japanese companies in Bangladesh. And I would like to explain about the latest survey result by JETRO. We JETRO conduct a survey on business condition in Asia ASEAN area, and this result is released just yesterday. And we can say future about the future business plan. According to the latest survey released yesterday, in Bangladesh, 68% of Japanese companies want to expand business operation in next 2 years. And around 45.5% want to expand manufacturing volume and function here in Bangladesh. Actually, this number is at the same as pre-corona time. So we can say in Bangladesh, many Japanese companies are recovering from corona effect under this moment. And actually, the Bangladesh come to second position in terms of the business expansion ratio after India. And the rate of expansion increased by 27.2% from last year, 41.8% to 68%. So this is really a positive result for us. And I'd like to touch upon the opportunity for Japanese companies in Bangladesh. Actually, I explained this slide in last webinar, so I quickly point out. And I think we can categorize two business sectors for business opportunities for Japanese companies. The number one is competitive human resources is the number one opportunities for Japanese companies, such as export-oriented industry and backward industries in Japan. Of course, the place for other place for procurement like RMG, accessory, light engineering, seafood, and processed food. These are the very potential area for procurement by Japanese companies. And number two is now RMG is mainly a cotton product in Bangladesh. So to increase the procurement from Bangladesh, it is really important for Bangladesh to increase the procurement of man-made fiber and textiles. So I think the Japanese companies may be able to provide the technical assistance to manufacture the man-made fiber and textile in Bangladesh. And the number three is the that there are a lot of excellent IT engineers in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh is spotlighted as a place for outsourcing of IT products. So second, the sector is the huge domestic market. This is also very promising the area for Japanese companies, like the two-wheelers and their components parts, like background industry. This is a really promising area. And the consumer goods and infrastructure development and public partnership project. And these are also very good area for Japanese companies, especially funded by JICA. And recently, many Japanese companies are focusing on the collaboration between startup companies in Bangladesh, especially tech and digital-based startups. Actually, last week, I had a meeting with the ICT division, and they are also interested in collaborating with Japanese companies in terms of the providing fund, like the SoftBank investment last month. So this is also the survey result of our survey, which is released yesterday. Actually, this is the challenges for business operations for Japanese companies in Bangladesh. On management matter this year, companies are facing a quality of employees and wage hikes in all industries. This is the major challenges for all industries. All industries means manufacturing and commerce. And the difficulties in administrative procedures like time-consuming custom procedures, complicated customs clearance procedures, and complexity of outward remittance are also major challenges for business operations in Bangladesh. And especially in manufacturing sectors, cost increase for procurement and difficulty in local procurement of raw material and parts are also very challenging for Japanese companies, which I mentioned in the last slide. The man-made fiber is an example for difficulties in procurement in Bangladesh. And these challenges are especially for the tax administrations and administrative procedures. So I think we can categorize three areas for challenges. The first one is Japanese companies are feeling difficulties in daily operations in tax area and administrative procedures, like there are lack of predictability and transparency in administrative procedures. And because lack of knowledge of government officials in field level is there. And a lack of digitalization is also very significant, actually very challenging for tax administration in Bangladesh. And also sudden changes in rules and regulations are really serious in Bangladesh. So this is a number one category. And number two is complexity of rules and regulations are also very challenging for Japanese companies. The first one is we have a language barriers in rules and regulations. For example, the rules and regulations are made in Bangla only, and English translations comes later. For example, 2 years later, 3 years later. So for Japanese companies, it is really challenging to translate those rules and regulations from Bangla to English and also to Japanese language. So this is also a very important point. And second one is we feel differences between rules and actual operation, actual implementation in tax administration and other administrative procedures. So third category is importance of complying with rules and regulations. This is also very important point, especially for Japanese companies. Day by day, the compliance issue, following compliance is really, really important for Japanese companies. On the other hand, some of Bangladesh companies do not follow the rules and regulations, I have to say. So we have to say that there are unfair environment in business operations with and without following compliances here in Bangladesh. So last one is to make a success in business operations in Bangladesh. Local partner is really important factor, and to find reliable business partner, due diligence survey is really important for Japanese companies. However, it is really difficult for Japanese companies to conduct such a survey in Bangladesh because the number of listed companies is very limited, like 300, 400, and information disclosure is limited in Bangladesh. So I think we have to make a culture for the information disclosure for Japanese company, for Bangladesh companies to collaborate with Japanese companies furthermore. In that sense, the ICMBA will play an important role in having a due diligence survey for Japanese companies. And actually, this list is the challenges for existing Japanese companies. Our ambassador is always leading the discussion to negotiate with the government to address these issues. So those are the list for the issues. And actually, I added the new list today. Actually, this list is made by one Japanese consulting firm, Tokyo consulting firm, which is one of the major consulting firms and tax advisory firm here in Bangladesh. And they added some issues. For example, like in foreign exchange area, complexity of loan approval from parent companies there. And ODA project, in ODA project, some tax issues are there, like complexity on tax exemption certificate here in Bangladesh, and unclearness on disclosure of offshore receipt in terms of government projects. These are the area for Japanese companies in tax issues. And I also introduced about the tax and VAT issue, like this allowance for park visit and this allowance for technical know-how fee for Japanese companies. So these are also the challenges for Japanese companies, which Tokyo consulting firm mentioned. And last one is investment climate. There are some issues like security clearance obtaining law and a mandatory condition for receipt of all foreigner salary in Bangladesh. Especially, I would like to explain about the last one, a mandatory condition for receipt of all foreigner salary in Bangladesh. This issue is actually very important for Japanese expatriates here in Bangladesh. I often hear this issue from Japanese expats recently. actually the according to the work permit policy, before the past rule, the salary can be paid separately to Japan and Bangladesh, because in Japanese companies, headquarters often pay salary to Japanese bank account and pay overseas staying expenses to bank account in Bangladesh. And before in the past policy, we could pay separately to Japan and Bangladesh, and we have the double taxation avoidance treaty. So according to this treaty, we can pay tax together to tax office in Bangladesh based on the salary plus overseas expenses. So this is the past conditions. But under the new rule for work permit, all the salary and expenses have to pay to bank account in Bangladesh. So this is actually really challenging for Japanese expats, because many of expats have their families in Japan. So before, in the past policy, the family can make a life by a salary in Japan. But on the other hand, under the current policy, the family cannot get salary in Japan. So expat has to send back some portion of salary to Japan. So this is really challenging for Japanese companies under the new work permit policy. So this is the major challenges for Japanese companies. And I'd like to mention the expectations to ICMAB, which is mentioned in the last the webinar as well. The number one is a human resource development with expertise in accounting and tax administration is really important. So in that sense, you are making an important role in human resource development. So number two, as I explained, we have a lot of challenges, especially in tax issues. So I would like to expect you to make an input to the government by understanding the challenges for Japanese companies. So number three is, I think the seminar is really timely organized. So I'd like to expect further collaboration between JBCC and JETRO to organize a seminar or webinar to explain like a new policy, rules and regulations, which I mentioned in the last slide. So the last point is, which as I mentioned, we would like to get a support to conduct due diligence survey and feasibility studies, especially in tax administrations and cost management area from you. So those are the areas which I would like to expect you. So thank you very much for